Have you ever felt yourself snapping at people you love, even when they've done nothing wrong? Or maybe you've scrolled through headlines, clenching your jaw without even realizing it. You see, rage is everywhere today, and it's exhausting us. In this episode of Terrified Nation, we talk about the toll of sustained outrage and how it's being used to manipulate us, and what to do when your inner fire burns too hot or goes out completely. Tune in to Terrified Nation.
If you've ever felt fear, doubt, or despair about the future of our country, you're not alone. Terrified Nation is a podcast for those ready to face hard truths with open hearts. Hosted by Debilyn. Each episode explores how we can move beyond division and build a society rooted in care, courage, and connection. If this resonates with you, hit follow and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Now here's your host, Debilyn.
Welcome back to Terrified Nation. I'm your host, Debilyn. This season, we're diving into the big emotions of fear, anger, and despair, and how to manage them so we don't get stuck in survival mode. Today, we're talking about rage burnout, because sometimes the fuel we've been running on, outrage, fury, self-righteous indignation, sputters out, and we're left feeling empty. For years now, rage has been the engine of our public discourse, and at first it felt useful, like fire. It gave us the energy to speak up, to march, to protest. It felt clarifying, even unifying. We were outraged for good reasons. But ultimately, fire consumes. And without rest, without balance, fire eventually turns everything to ash. And that's what I'm hearing from friends and colleagues, and even from strangers. I just can't anymore, they tell me. Or I'm so tired. Or I just feel numb. This is what rage burnout looks like and what it feels like. You may be feeling it yourself. So why is this happening? Well, let's take a step back. There are people, companies, political strategists, even media algorithms who benefit from our anger. Rage keeps us engaged, clicking, donating, arguing. Outrage is profitable. Scholar Arthur Brooks has dubbed it the outrage industrial complex. And of course, I call the people who do this conflict profiteers. Part of why outrage is so toxic is that it's contagious. When we see other people yelling, we subconsciously scan our own lives for something to be mad about. And then it spreads like wildfire. But the longer that we live in a state of indignation, the more we harm ourselves. Biologically, rage kicks our nervous systems into high alert. We're flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. Our bodies think that we are in danger constantly, even when we're not. And eventually we shut down because we just cannot cope with living on that edge anymore. So what does burnout look like? Because maybe you recognize this pattern in yourself. You were once the loudest voice at the rally, and now you can't bring yourself to show up or even care how many people attend. You used to write letters, make calls, organize meetings, and now even reading the news or watching the news makes you feel ill. You find yourself snapping at loved ones or turning inward and isolating yourself, escaping into video games or mindless TV shows or reading. You might even feel shame for not being angry anymore. I want to pause here and say, if this is you, you are not alone. And more importantly, you are not broken. You are human. and burnout is real. So how do we heal? What do we do with all of this? Well, there are different paths to healing depending on your physical safety. And living in a suburb in a stable country offers different options than living in an area of high conflict or crime or war. I'm focusing here on a healing plan that assumes you are physically safe. And first stop on a healing path is to rest, not as a reward, but as a necessity. Rest is what lets the fires die down without consuming you, allowing you the time that you need to restore your energy. The second thing we do is we reconnect with ourselves, with others, with the world around us. This might look like, long walks, sitting in silence, cooking with someone you love, petting a dog or a cat or your other favorite pet. It might be making eye contact with a neighbor and smiling, letting your heart soften just a little to remember this wonderful, glorious world that we live in. Third, we get curious. Instead of stoking the next outrage cycle, we can ask, what is underneath this anger? What is it that I really care about? And what kind of world am I trying to build? And how might I build that world without anger as my motivating fuel? That's the essential question. How might I build that world without being angry? This is the invitation to shift. You don't have to stay angry forever to be effective. And you don't have to live in a fire to be fierce. You can move from rage to resolve, and from burnout to balance, from exhaustion to quiet and undeterred courage. Because this isn't just about how we feel, it's about how we show up for ourselves and for each other and for the world that we want to build. So if you've been feeling burned out by the never-ending flood of outrage, pause, feel it, then take a breath. Take a break. Even 15 minutes helps. And then take the next step from a place of clarity instead of combustion. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. Reach out to someone you trust. Talk to a friend. Join a group that inspires your better self. Spend time in spaces that feed your soul, not your fury. And you're invited to come home to yourself, to a version of you that doesn't rely on adrenaline to stay awake to the world's pain. Let yourself rest. Let yourself care again in a new way. And let yourself be guided by love, not rage. We need your voice, your hands, and especially your heart, fully present and no longer on fire. Thanks for listening to Terrified Nation. If today's episode resonated with you, I hope you'll share it with someone else who may need it. You can find past episodes and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And if you've got a moment, leave a review. It really helps others find this show. Want to keep going deeper? Well, join me at terrifiednation.com, where you'll find more podcasts. And if you want to read it, go to the blog at my Substack channel. Until then, join me next time.
That's Terrified Nation, a podcast from American Future. If this episode moved you, please help others find it. Leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. For early access to new episodes, become a paid subscriber at terrifiednation.com. Join us next time.